How's it going, guys? My name is Donovan. I'm standing next to my 2016 Dodge Charger RT. If you guys are new to the channel, this car has countless things done to it. There's not like a single aspect of this car that I haven't touched in some way. The transmission has a torque converter, it's cammed, it's full bolt-on, it's E85, differential, I mean really you name it. And I've documented a lot of these things on my channel. However, it's September in 2023, and I realize financially for most of us, things are very tough. Those who are looking to modify their car are looking to do it on a budget, or at least in a more financially responsible way than the way I kind of approached this build. These items that I have in this list here are the way I would approach modifying a Charger or Challenger RT if I was starting fresh and I needed to drive this car to work every day. And I also want to add, none of these items, with the exception of the last one, you need to do in any particular order, but the way I have them arranged is the way that I would personally approach it, and I feel is the most logical given my experience with the platform. Number one, a Hellcat airbox. A lot of people buy aftermarket JLT, K&N intakes for their Chargers and Challengers. I have a JLT on both my Hellcat and my RT. The issue with some of those is that they often bring in hot air more than cool air, and so you often end up sacrificing performance for sound. And although there can be gains seen in certain driving regimes and with certain modification combinations, really, you cannot go wrong with the factory Hellcat airbox. And the reason is because not only were they engineered for a car that is ingesting a lot more air than a stock 5.7 or a 6.4, they can also be found for a reasonable price because Hellcat owners are often upgrading their stock airbox to a JLT to increase their supercharger line. These can be found online for less than $150, which is like a third of the price of some of these other cold air intakes. And really, you can find them for way less. I sold mine to somebody on Instagram for $50. Number two is a 309 limited slip differential. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the differentials on these Chargers and Challengers, the automatic transmission Chargers and Challengers come with open differentials. So open differentials send power 50-50 to each of the back wheels until one of the wheels starts slipping, and then all of the power gets sent to the slipping wheel. Now what about a limited slip? So a limited slip differential is designed to send power to the wheel with most traction. And because of that, not only do you get better traction with a limited slip differential, it's also more predictable, in my opinion, safer to drive. On top of that, most of these Chargers and Challengers come with a 262 rear end, so a 309 is a little bit shorter gearing, so you're going to get more of that torquey feel and more off-the-line performance. I'd also like to add that the 309 is what comes in the Scat Packs and 6.4s that are also autos. Driving on that for like 5 years now, a great modification, and I highly recommend it to everyone who has one of these cars. Those can be found used for around $600. Number four, some are going to say this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I highly recommend this and is a good set of tires. Sticky tires will arguably make the largest difference in terms of not only handling, but performance on these cars. These things make a lot of torque down low. As I'm sure you've noticed, if you've tried to jump on it from a stoplight, the stock tires, they pretty much just get blown right off and you're spinning down the street. Not only is that unsafe, performance is also terrible. So you really don't want to be spinning, although I recognize it's fun. So 275s will fit on most of the factory wheels, so you won't have to buy an aftermarket wider wheel. Check with your tire installer whether or not that is the case in your specific application. Don't just go buy wheels. Check with them first, but for the most part, a lot of these Chargers and Challengers can fit 275s on their stock wheel. I wouldn't jump straight to 305s because tire compound is more important than tire width. So buying a nice sticky 275 is not only lighter than a 305, but it'll fit on your factory wheels, save you some money, and 2 rear tires can be had for around $600. People always say if you're spinning, you ain't winning, and as somebody who goes to the track all the time and has lost due to spinning, it's embarrassing. Buy yourself a nice set of tires. And lastly is an engine and transmission tune. At this point in this modification progression, you've done intake, exhaust, and you've also done a rear differential, which I also want to add you don't necessarily need a tune for on these 2015 and up cars, but an engine and trans tune will tie it all together. For a near stock car, you're going to get most of your gains from the actual transmission tune, because they're going to be able to control your shift points, throttle response, torque management, things like that. So the transmission tune's really the important part, but because we did a lot of intake and exhaust work, it's always good to tie it all together with an engine tune and just make sure everything's running as it should. Have a shop around you that can do a dyno tune, I highly recommend that. I know a lot of Hemi guys often opt for remote tunes. I'm not a fan of remote tunes personally, but they can work in some applications. I also want to mention that tuning your transmission and engine requires you to unlock your PCM. That's the case with all these 15 and up Chargers and Challengers. It's really unfortunate, but the good news is that if you decide to go further and progress past this list and do a cam, do E85, whatever, your PCM will already be unlocked and you'll be able to use your handheld tuner to just get the car retuned. So that's kind of a step that everyone has to take if they really modify their car beyond stock parameters. Long story short, if you see yourself going beyond the mods that I've listed in this video, you'll want your PCM unlocked anyways. You should be able to find this service for around $750, in some locations more, in some locations less. That should give you a good reference point. My list so far has totaled up to $2,300, so we're under my $2,500 limit. I gave us $200 of buffer room because there's some places that can add, some places we can subtract from, but in most places you'll be able to keep it near this value. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These are my suggestions and suggested order for modifying your Charger or Challenger RTs if you're on a budget. These are the mods that I would personally do if I had to start fresh on this car and I wanted to save some money, be a little smarter with how I was spending it. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. If you aren't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below. I make videos with this Charger RT at the track, modifying it, tutorials. I have a 2018 wide-body Hellcat Challenger, and recently I also bought a 2013 Charger SXT. I'm very familiar with this platform, and there's a lot of content to be had with it. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next video.